Well, hey there. You made it to training video number 2. For those of you that have already listened to training video number 1, it was real delight to hear from you. We asked the question, what can you do? What can you do when you don't know what to do in your marriage and in your relationship? And it was really great to hear some of the things that you came up with, some of the next steps you could take to make the kind of difference in your marriage that you long for. In video 1, we talked about questions, and these were questions that you have as a member of our Green Hope Coaching community related to the intimacy and sexuality in your own marriage. And we're going to be launching, Renan is going to be launching a men's group called The Valiant Man, and I'll be hosting a women's group called Passion Pursuit starting September 13th, I believe. And in those groups, we really wanted to make sure we were covering the things that are most important to you in your own relationships. So one of the questions that came out of that was, what can you do when you don't know what to do? So what we offered you was a relationship wheel, which is kind of an inventory that you can use to identify some of those low places, you know, in a car with a flat tire, some of those places that you just need to give a little bit of air so that it'll roll more smoothly. Or, you know, some of the things that might be more significantly as issues, and identifying what can you do to make the bigger difference. Well, today, our topic really comes from a comment that was made by one of the women who responded to video training number 1. And she wrote this: "We've been committed to our marriage for a long time. It's not that we don't know what to do, because it feels like we've tried it all. But we just feel like we're not really getting anywhere. He loves me, I love him, but we feel a bit directionless." Have you felt that way? You know, so often when we get married, we have this view that love is all we need, and love will make the world go round, and any number of other love songs that were popular during the time that Rennie and I were getting married. But you realize pretty quickly after you get married that you may have been saying the same words, but you mean something completely different by them and how you're going to live that out. You know, I often think of the illustration, there's, you know, a couple sitting in their living room, and the wife looks up out the window and says, "Wow, it's such a great day. Let's go outside and play." And the husband looks up and said, "It is a good day. Let's do that." And so they both get up to go get ready to go outside and play. But when they come back, you know, she's got her tennis racket and he's wearing his swim trunks. Why? Because when she said, "Let's go out," she was looking down the road at the tennis courts. And when he said, "Let's go out," he was looking out the window facing the swimming pool. They said the same thing, but they ended up meaning something very different. That happens to us in our marriage too. Every day we make choices that affect our relationship, that affect our family. But what happens if he's looking out one window and she's looking out the other? Where do we come to a place where we're saying the same thing and meaning the same thing? Well, chances are we have to look out the same window, first of all. But then even more than just looking out the same window is identifying what you're looking at out that window. You know, how do we know if we're making right choices, even if we're looking out the same window? How do we know that we're saying the same thing and we're making right choices together? How do we measure if a decision is good for our family, or if it's right for our relationship, if we're not looking out the same window and we know what we're looking for at the other end? Well, that's what's important in this video. Not just what can you do, but where are you going? What do you want to be true of you? How do you want to be 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road? And now I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, I know I want a house. I know we want some kids. I know we want good jobs. Okay, those are all great things. But what do you want to be true of your relationship? What values do you have? What behaviors do you want to be true of you? What beliefs do you hold on to because they're really important to you as a couple? Those are the kind of things that can make or break some of the other things that come up in our life. Now, Ren and I, we are not the experts, okay? And I'm not purporting that we are the experts, but what I am saying is that we have been married 36 years, and we have realized that there are things that you can do, we have done or have not done, to make our marriage better. And that's why we believe really strongly in groups like we're getting ready to start, and in the material that we're giving you today, because it's made a difference in our life. So our gift to you today is called the Married Couples Guide to Writing Your Own Mission Statement. And I know you think, what's that all about? Well, check it out. It's a free gift, and in it are exercises, questions, situations to think through that can help you identify what's most important to you as a couple. And many times identifying that is going to affect your behavior and your living it out with one another, and that's really so important. One of my favorite exercises in it is the question, at your 60th wedding anniversary, okay, so if you've been married 5 months or 50 years, at your 60th wedding anniversary, who will be there, and what do you want them to say about you? Now think about that. If you identify that you want your kids there, if you identify that you want them to say about you that you were faithful, that you were lovers, that you were, concerned for other people, that you reached out to them, that you tried to love them as they needed to be loved. I mean, those are some of the values that we have. What are your values? If you identify what they are, it's going to change the way you behave toward them and with them, and the way you lead, with them and around them. But it's important to ask the question, what do you want to be true of you down the road? The excuse I hear most often is, well, that's pretty hard. Okay, it kind of is. I don't really know what to do. Okay. What if we do the hard thing and it helps make it better? I don't care for the excuse, it's hard, because life can get hard. And that leads me to the other excuse I hear so often is, why build a bullseye down the road when life's going to happen and it's going to mess everything up anyway, so I'm not even going to bother. Yeah, life is going to mess it up. That's what life does. Life messes up a lot of our plans. But, Ren and I realized, especially in fact, we talked about it yesterday, that 9 years ago our daughter died. That wasn't in our plans anywhere. Who plans for that kind of stuff? But because years before that we built into our marriage, because years before that we identified values that we wanted to be true of us as a couple, because years ago we identified things that we wanted to be true in how we treated each other and how we behaved toward each other and how we lived out our love. When it came to a point where we couldn't make a decent decision, where we couldn't even think, let alone breathe, we began to go on autopilot based on what we knew we wanted to be true of us. Now, I'm not saying we did it perfectly, because we did not, but we are here today. We are a couple today. We are strong today because of something we did a long time ago in identifying what we want to be true of us. And that's made a powerful difference in where we are right now. In video 1, I mentioned that I recognize that some of you listening to this are married to someone who doesn't really see a need to work on your marriage for whatever reason. Because they're not engaging, because they're too busy, because whatever. Don't think that you need to disregard this, because you doing what you can do, you identifying where you want to go, what you want to be true of you down the road, can make way more than 50% of the difference in your marriage. I know for Ren and I, as we look back, we realized that there were times where I couldn't engage and Rennie did. There were times where Rennie couldn't engage and I did. And it kept our marriage moving forward instead of getting stuck or getting lost altogether. So just because you feel like you're the only one, don't give up. You can use these tools to make a difference in your marriage. So for all of you, sign up below. And while you're there, why don't you give us a comment about something that you've learned from these videos, something that stands out, maybe a way that your values are being incorporated into your marriage, maybe part of your mission statement, some way that you have identified that you know where you're going. All right? We have one more video after this, and it's going to be related directly to the intimacy and sexuality that we're going to be talking about within our classes starting September 13th. It's Valiant Man and Passion Pursuit for men, for women. And I encourage both the husband and the wife to get involved in that, because it's so powerful when you're both hearing it from your own mindset, and then you can come home and share those truths with each other. We're going to talk more about that in the next video. If you're curious about it and you don't want to wait, go to greenhopecoaching.com and click on the products and services tab, and you'll find a link for each one of those, and you can learn more about it already. So, but for today we're asking the question, where do I want to go? Are we looking out the same windows? And what do we want to be true of us down the road? Okay? So don't forget to sign up. Don't forget to leave a comment. And remember, your great marriage starts with you.